Welcome to my channel. Normally I review toys and action figures, but as I'm a massive fan of Transformers, I thought I would do a movie review. And I've seen the film twice, and I'm going to give it a solid 8 out of 10. Very enjoyable, lots of great action sequences. The soundtrack from the 90s is really fun. It's the period which I grew up. The acting, I think the acting's great for what it is. Some people say it's like an extended Saturday morning cartoon with really good effects, and I think that's a good way to see it. It is very enjoyable, nothing too complicated, unlike some complaints about the Michael Bay films. And I think the special effects, as others mentioned from the trailers, as they progressed to the TV spots, they improved a lot. And it's a different company doing it. It's not the one that worked with Michael Bay, which is ILM, and it's another company. So they've been working really hard post-production to make it look more realistic. And then in terms of that, the feels factor, there's some really, really good, I guess, some core themes, which, such as the explanation of the main phrases in the Transformers franchise, such as "no matter the cost," "till all are one," and more than meets the eye. These are all kind of brought up and kind of explained as well as to how they came about, which is really cool. And we get to see the encounter between Optimus Prime and Primal, the introduction of the Maximals to live action for the first time, and all of it, very, very enjoyable. Quite a few laughs in this film, and that's my non-spoiler review. So I'm going to go into the film using clips, pictures from the official trailers to describe and break down exactly what goes on. And then at the end, I'll give a more detailed verdict. So here we go. The film starts with various vessels and little pods flying through the air and landing in this rich, densely populated rainforest or jungle area. And this planet is not Earth, but it looks very similar to Earth, and it's where the Maximals reside. And maybe some people say maybe it is Earth. I don't know, because some people are throwing around this whole multiverse and time travel thing. So anyway, it's on a planet which resembles Earth, and what happens is these kind of scorpion robot looking drones come out, and we get to see the Terracons, like Scourge in particular, and they've come to set up Unicron's equipment for him to then break up the planet and eat it, basically. So those of you who are Fantastic Four fans, is very similar to the setup with Galactus and Silver Surfer, where Scourge functions as like a herald of Unicron, and in the way that Silver Surfer functions like that with Galactus, and Galactus then eats the planets with his machine as well, which is like a round, circular, similar to Star Wars as well, where you've got the Death Star and stuff. They're all very similar kind of planet-sized ships. Anyway, we get to see a scene where Ape Link defends his planet against Scourge, and he buys some time for Optimus Primal and the other Maximals to get away on a spaceship while he has a one-on-one with Scourge. And this is where the first death comes in, where sadly Scourge blasts a hole through Ape Link, and that's it. He can't really recover from that. And he's kind of still alive, and he just says, "Oh, the others are escaping in a ship." And then Scourge is like, "No." And the reason why is because they have got this transwarp key. This transwarp key would allow Unicron to travel through various points in space, like a teleportation, and therefore he can devour more worlds with Energon, and that will, gets him more power and all that stuff. So without that, they're kind of just aimlessly looking around spending a long time doing that. And, it's kind of similar setup. Galactus had Silver Surfer scout ahead for planets, which he could then just travel to. So it's like, time management, I guess. And the transwarp key enables Unicron to detect Energon Rich and just go straight there. So he can just get on with his eating. And that, I have to say, Peter Dinklage, as the voice of Scourge, did a really good job. In fact, most of the voice actors did a brilliant job. And it sounded very menacing, which is great to see. And it's good, in a way, like there's no Megatron in this film. And in a way, that's quite a good thing. It's like forces the producers of the film to come up with another enemy and bring in something in the Transformers lore into the film. So we do get to see Unicron coming through, and he's got these kind of big metal teeth that come down, and basically just the whole planet just rips apart and gets devoured. And then it leads into the opening credits scene, and it switches to Earth, 1994. We've got a cool track by Wu-Tang Clan playing, and we're introduced to Noah. Sadly, from the trailers, there's no real clips of the beginning bit, so I'm just going to talk over this particular picture about just the introduction about Noah. So he is just trying to fix up like an old school video, I think it's a video player, and we're introduced to the fact that he's got a little brother and their mum, and they're just living in a kind of sort of a poorer end of New York, and they're struggling to make ends meet, even though Noah, has his previous military background. And then after that, we find out that his little brother's got, I think it's like sickle cell disease, and he's got some issues, some health issues. And Noah himself can't even get a job. He's very difficult to because of his previous record, something that happened. And so, yeah, it's a difficult situation for them. And they go home on the subway after trying to go out for a job interview and stuff. And then at this point, Noah says to his friend about, maybe he can do a job for him. And this job later on leads to him meeting Mirage. So then we switch to another main character's introduction. Again, there's nothing from the trailer, but this bright light represents the transwarp key being activated. So Elena is like an intern at the Natural History Museum, and she is trying to, work her way up the ladder. And in the museum, there's a strange piece she comes across, which is of like a hawk or an eagle type bird of prey. And it's believed that it's Egyptian. And she looks at it and she goes, no, it's not Egyptian. It could be something else. And she brings it into the special lab to analyze it, whereupon it breaks down, and inside is half of the transwarp key, which suddenly activates. And this activates as a massive bright light, which sends a massive signal up into the sky, but it's on a wavelength only the Transformers can see. So no humans can see this massive bright light in the sky, which is part of a signal going out. Okay, so again, acting by both of them, brilliant. People in the comments sometimes I've seen on other videos worried about, oh yeah, the other Transformers films are mainly just about the humans and the Transformers were side characters. In this film, they've got that balance way more right. So the Transformers do have more screen time. There's more interaction with the humans. The humans are actually relevant. They don't have their own like side comedy life things that Michael Bay had going on, like going, their own kind of like college stuff and jokes and all that stuff, just particularly about them. And then the Transformers end up being side characters in their own films. This is very different. And, I for one was quite happy with that. So this is a picture of Optimus looking at the transwarp beam shooting up into the sky. And this signal also alerts the Terracons to come. So these guys, there's like 3 vessels that land. in the water in New York, and they come out ready to try and get the key. Now we come to Noah, who is doing this job for his friend, and he's trying to steal a car which has been sitting around in a car park for like 2 weeks, and it's also going on is some kind of event, some charity event by some very wealthy people. And Noah goes in to try to steal this car. And there's some quite funny bits here too. And then the car starts driving itself because Optimus, having seen the transwarp key, he signals all the Autobots within the nearby vicinity to come to group and talk about what's going on. So Mirage is on the way to meet Optimus, and we get this cool scene where, I mean, if you're into Porsches, you're going to love this scene. So there's a cool car chase. This is Noah's friend, who then ditches him because he's a bit cowardly when he sees the cops chasing him. And this is Noah, who is having trouble even controlling the car, as Mirage is just trying to meet Optimus. And lots of action happens, which is great stuff. And Noah, his bewilderment that he didn't even know what was going on is really cool to see. I think that this actor, if he was given a more meatier script, he could really pull it off. And I could see that, this kind of script didn't require him to use his full acting, melodramatic ability. But, if required, I think he could definitely pull it out of the bag. So, yeah, he's a really good actor. So now we get to the car chase. Lots of cool stuff happens. We get to see one of Mirage's powers, which is the ability to generate holograms. And yeah, this cop car just ends up smack bang in the middle after a bit of deceiving. Pete Davidson, absolutely brilliant. I chuckled quite a few times at the jokes. So it's partly the script and partly Pete Davidson. I don't know how much was improv or whether it was just scripted that way. But either way, the combination, really good, really funny guy. And it's nice also to see Bumblebee not in the centre, because sometimes, the marketing is always pushing Bumblebee as this really cute, smaller Transformer who's got this human connection and stuff. But Mirage is hilarious and it's cool. So it's great to see that, they're not just going to keep pushing either Optimus as the noble leader or Bumblebee as the cute scout mascot sidekick kind of robots type style, and they've got other characters that they can really bring out the personalities of. Okay, then they arrive in some kind of abandoned warehouse. Noah gets chucked out and he doesn't know what's going on. He picks up a stick to defend himself. But Mirage, he takes himself to Noah quite well and he wants to be friends. And they bond kind of starting at this point, really. And then we get to see Bumblebee's transformation from this 77 Camaro that we saw at the end of the last Bumblebee film. And, as others said, really smooth transformation. And we get this really cool intro of Optimus coming, kind of slow, this massive vehicle, heavy, slowly just going through the rain, and it transforms in this really nice, smooth manner. This is from the trailer, and it's improved in the film, so this is not the final rendering. And I can say that when in the cinema, it looks a lot better. And he comes in, and Noah chucks that stick away as he realizes there's nothing he can do really. You get to see RC as a motorcycle in the back as well. And they have a chat about the transwarp key and what they're going to do. And they decide to have a plan where Noah can, because they're not really conspicuous as giant robots, to try to get the key, so they can try to use Noah to find and locate the key. Optimus thinks that he's not really approving of this idea, and it's Mirage who comes up with this idea. And I think he wants to try to keep Noah around as a friend because he quite enjoys his company. So again, voice acting wise, Peter Cullen, what a legend. 81, still doing it all the way from G1 to now. I hope he's around for, as long as he can, because he is Optimus Prime. Like, that is it, and his voice acting in this was, again, top notch. Like, he never just, phones it in. He's always giving his full. And he himself, in an interview that I read, said that, yeah, he was really positive about this script, because he did mention before about Bayverse's psychotic nature of the Optimus Prime, and it's a bit violent compared, I think, to what he expected. But this one is more his kind of what he thought it was going to be. So yeah, brilliant job. Okay, this is Elena at the museum where the transwarp key is. Noah tries to steal the transwarp key and take it, but she doesn't want it. And then they get attacked. And what happens is that the Terracons have found the location of that part of the key, and they chase after them. And they've got these little Terracon little drones that are kind of like metal spiders, and they chase them. And then there's a massive battle between the Autobots and the Terracons at the museum. This is the bit. So some parts in the trailer were not used in the final film, and even when Peter Cullen says, "Let them come," that wasn't even in the film at all. So they must have recorded several lines and edited it for the final version. So maybe in the future home release, there'll be like an extended director's cut version with all the extra bits added in, which would be really cool. Okay, so they have a fight. Scourge proves himself to be stronger than Optimus, and Optimus is about to get hit, and Bumblebee comes in to rescue and gets just stabbed through the midsection and pretty much gets killed by Scourge at this point. And we get to see Scourge, it establishes the character as someone who, he doesn't have any mercy. He's here to do a job. He's very clinical about it. Like, he doesn't really take pleasure. I mean, he's got lots of the faction kind of badges that he takes off each of the robots that he kills, but he's quite methodical. Like here, the fight is stopped by Air Razor, who comes in, and then he just stops and he's like, let's just go, because they've got the key, they don't need to win the battle. So he's quite, he calculates things as well, rather than just letting his emotions take the driving wheel, and just goes all out into fighting. He's got plans. So, what's interesting here is that, Noah and Elena's paths cross. This is how they become a team. And we get to see Air Razor as well. So this is the start of all the major characters coming together. The humans, the Autobots, and the Maximals. And it's interesting how Air Razor, she's really powerful. In the Beast Wars cartoons, it's said that the Maximals are like the future descendants of the Autobots, and they have more advanced abilities. They're more advanced robots, basically. So it's like Optimus Prime is like those old school massive box PCs, and these Maximals are like, I don't know, an iMac or something. And in the Beast Wars, they're much smaller in size, but here they've gone the other way, and some of them are even bigger than the actual Autobot Transformers. So here they're not only more advanced, but they're also massive. So there we go. And then what they group together. So Air Razor tells the Autobots about the key, what's going on, and that it was split in two. And Elena, when she was working in the museum earlier, she took down notes of all the different markings, and she says that she knows that she's seen those markings before in Peru. So then they go and they need to find a way to get to Peru. So throughout this section, this bit was also missing, where in the trailer, where Elena is saying, "Is this real? Oh, it's real." With RC, that wasn't even in the film anyway. So again, another cut scene. So then we see a bit of Scourge, who reports back, and he thinks he's got the whole transwarp key, but Unicron punishes him and makes him realise he's only got half of it. So it shows Unicron as someone who's, again, totally merciless. He sees Scourge as just his complete servant. There's no feelings of any kind of pleasantness or niceness, really. He's just there to serve him. And this is a stark contrast to Optimus, who tolerates quite a lot from the various different personalities in the team that he has to manage. Okay, so the Autobots get together and we see Stratosphere, who apparently was in Revenge of the Fallen, dropping Optimus out of the sky with the parachutes at the beginning of the film. But obviously we never see Stratosphere in those films. You just see Jetfire at the end. He apparently is his brother or something. But he's got a very thick Scottish accent here. And again, similar to Jetfire, he's really old and crumbling and bits are coming apart. But anyway, they get in, and then Noah and Elena have a quick chat. And Noah says, he wants to destroy this key because it'll stop Unicron from ever coming, even though it means Optimus Prime and his Autobot cannot go back home. And actually the same for the Maximals. Without the transwarp key, they could never travel back because there's no such technology on the Earth. So we've got this little subplot developing. So the humans, Elena and Noah, they are pretty much in a team with the Autobots now, and they get to Peru to find the other half of the transwarp key. So just on a side note here, Peru, amazing place. I've been there. I've been to Machu Picchu, and it's fantastic. If you have the chance to go as a once-in-a-lifetime trip, I would definitely go. The altitude is quite high, but it's got nothing to do with fitness, because some buddies who I went with, they're very athletic, but they had trouble breathing at certain places, whereas I'm not particularly that fit, and it was okay actually. I didn't really have that many issues. So it just depends on person to person how you feel when you get there. But yeah, because it's quite high altitude, there is less oxygen, and it's amazing how all this stuff was constructed at this kind of altitude, because it's difficult for any labour. And you can see here some behind the scenes of the cast really enjoying themselves. If you're doing this film and you're an actor and you get paid to go here, I mean, that is just brilliant. And you can see Stephen Capel Jr. here directing. I mean, what a cool job this is, to be on the Transformers set. You just get to travel the world, go to these cool places. Anyway, Stratosphere, that's delivering the new human Autobot team. And then they have a plan whereby there's a massive... Oh yeah, here we get to see Wheeljack as well. So he just randomly comes in. And, for those who... there's been a massive issue about Wheeljack's look and redesign. And Wheeljack is actually such a small, minor character in this film that actually... I feel it doesn't even matter. And although I'm quite sad not to see the original Bumblebee version, which was very faithful to the G1, which I love, like those cool blue ears when he talks, and that mask, and his unique design, that's all gone. And everyone's calling this new one Pablo Jack because of the writing on the side of the van, the Volkswagen van that he takes on. But yeah, even if you don't like him, the new design, it's hardly features in the film at all, really. I mean, the main character, Optimus and Mirage, out of the Autobots, RC doesn't really get much character time. Bumblebee's sidelined, was dead by now, and Wheeljack just comes in now. So, I mean, there's so many characters, they only focus on a few, which is good and bad in a way, because in the end, these are the main characters where the main themes come through. So it's successful in that way. But hopefully in future films, we do get to see more character development of the others. And this is like the shortest Transformers. I think it's like 2 hours, 7 minutes. So maybe they'll do a longer one, which will allow for that. So what's happening in Peru is this massive cool parade. I think it's in Cusco. I've been here as well. Really awesome to check out the architecture. Great food, great times. Had a really, really good time there pre-COVID with my buddies. And because there's like a massive parade going on, if the Autobots come in, again, very inconspicuous. Very noticeable. And the humans can, again, do this job. So, again, Stephen Cable Jr., very different direction to Travis Knight with the look of the bots. But he has done a brilliant job in this film, and if he comes back, that'll be fantastic too. I love it when you have one director who can just really implement his vision, like he had, Nolan with the Batman trilogy, or Peter Jackson with Lord of the Rings. It's really cool. Instead of chopping and changing, it's fantastic just to have the delivery of a single vision done. Okay, so Noah and Elena find the location of the other half of the Transwarp key where they believe it to be, and they go down. But then, the Terracons find out they're also there. They're also tracking them, and Mirage and Optimus Prime start moving because they're just parked around waiting for them. And we get to see Nightbird here and Battletrap in more detail. These designs, really, really cool. But again, the film does not focus much on Battletrap or Nightbird at all. They hardly get any lines. I'm not even sure Battletrap says anything apart from just running around, which, again, I understand why, because the runtime, the amount of characters, but, just as visual eye candy, they look brilliant. And Nightbird, if you're I mainly review diecast cars on my channel as toys. As a Nissan Skyline R33 with like a Panda and Rocket Bunny modified body kit, it looks so cool. So I'm really hoping, some toy brand creates Nightbird's alt mode, vehicle mode, because it looks fantastic. So then there's like a chase going on where the Terracons try to catch up to the Autobots to try to get the Transwarp key before they can secure it. And we get this battle scene, which is in the trailers. Here we see Battletrap working with Nightbird to do a 180 and fire some missiles at RC, who is riding through Pablo, and then the missile goes straight through Pablo Jack, which I'm just going to call him Pablo Jack because it just makes sense. And they have a battle, and then Mirage, that's Air Razor in the back, and then we see Nightbird transforming, which is really cool. And we get to see, the Porsche drifting. We also get to see Optimus drifting and then changing. I mean, that is so cool. A Freightliner drifting. And then it changes into Optimus. And he prepares to fight Scourge. And what's really cool about Optimus's character at this point is that he's lost to Scourge. His, best friend Bumblebee was killed by Scourge. And, instead of being a coward, there's zero hesitation in this character. He just gets up and he's like, I'm just going to fight him again. Even though, Scourge is stronger. And this part, I don't even think this much was in the film, this bit where his mask comes in segments. I think that was mainly for the trailer. Anyway, he fires at Scourge. Scourge also transforms. Optimus comes in with this right hook, catches him right there, and there's some like lubricant oil coming out of his face or something. It was really cool for Optimus to, it shows that he's got this kind of, he's underneath his kind demeanor and his care for his Autobots. He is a warrior. He will just get in his crafty hooks and punches and kicks and strikes where he can. And that was really cool to see. And the battle is stopped by Air Razor. The power of Air Razor, this flame coming out of her throat, it's just, I think these Maximals are definitely more powerful than the Autobots. Just the fact that she can generate this kind of, attack. And she separates the bridge between Optimus and Scourge. And that's it. It ends the battle. But Optimus not happy. He's like, this is not over. Or, I'm going to get you. Something to those words later on. So, yeah. All this time as well, while this is going on, not in the trailers, but Noah and Elena are being chased by more drones, and also Mirage gives Noah a part of himself, and it turns into a gun, and he can use that to defend himself against those drones. So next we have the full meeting of the Maximals, and we get to see Rhinox coming in, Cheetor coming in, and the main guy, Optimus Primal. So Airazor has finally found the fellow Maximals, and at this point they have an encounter. So this scene is fully up on YouTube, released by Paramount, and we get to introduce to Cheetor, who takes on Mirage, and RC comes to defend it. Rhinox takes on Wheeljack and just literally gores him into the air. And then finally Optimus and Optimus meet each other, and they have a face-off, which is interrupted by Airazor, who tells them all what's been happening. And, you know, at this point we get to see some of the themes of the film, where, you know, Optimus Prime, he finds out, you know, when he hears Optimus Primal, he's very surprised by that. And Primal himself says that, you know, in honor of you, Optimus. And so there's like a history there, which they don't go into to keep the plot moving. But it's awesome to leave these things in there, because then, you know, an audience who doesn't know about this will think about, you know, why is he called such a similar name? So, yeah, again, Michelle Yeoh, voice of Airazor. You can tell it's her from the accent, but she does again, fantastic job as this kind of peaceful, wise, you know, creature who looks out for others. Okay, we get to see Optimus's cool gun. We don't get to see the Ion Blaster, which is a shame. I love that massive rifle that he used in Bumblebee. And they've kind of gone for like more Bayverse weapons, like a massive gauntlet blade on the forearms and this big handgun. But I miss that G1 blaster. It'd be really cool to have had that, and maybe he'll have that in a future film. Okay, so they have a quick get together and a chat about what's going on, and basically the transwarp key has been moved from that location to keep it a secret, and then we find out where it is. So they travel to a small rural village, and we find out here that Optimus Primal has been friends with these villagers, and they're like the descendants of the humans who greeted the Maximals when they first arrived many, many centuries ago. And they've had a really good human Maximal relationship, and that's why there's all these like archaeological stone paintings of them like together and all that stuff. And basically he's just given these villagers the key to look after. He really trusts the humans. He's got massive confidence in them. And Optimus at this point, he doesn't have that. He's just come in and he's just like, I want to get my Autobots back home after 7 years, back to Cybertron, back home basically. And here it's this point where Optimus Primal says, you know, there's more to these than humans than meets the eye. And that's really cool to bring that phrase in. And basically he gives Noah the transwarp key. He just trusts the humans like that. But Noah, as mentioned earlier, he's got a plan to kind of destroy the key, because it will stop Optimus, it will stop Unicron, from coming and destroying the world. But, you know, Elena tries to persuade him not to, and even Optimus himself pleads, like, you know, please don't do this. And yeah, he doesn't. And Noah at this point, he changes from just also looking out for himself and others, like the other humans, and he changes to working together. And it's this point where, you know, Optimus says this can only be like resolved if you know, when everyone is, until all are one. And what that means is everyone's working as one team, like one body. We've got like the humans all for the same aim, and the aim is to, you know, get the transwarp key so that they can all have, you know, the ending they want, because the Autobots can go home, even the Maximals can go home, and the humans can stay, you know, without any of all these robotic wars going on and stuff, and just get on with, you know, human civilization. So yeah, it's really cool to bring that phrase in. Okay, and then next there is, yes, there is this bit where Airazor from the museum fight, no, not the museum fight, the Peru fight, earlier, Scourge threw this device on her, and it's this horrible device which kind of takes over her mind and makes her evil, and sadly it's taking more and more effect. And at this point, Optimus Primal jumps in and literally just bear hugs her to death, because she's becoming more evil, and she tries to hurt Elena by using the fire breath. And it's really sad for Optimus Primal to end the life of one of the fellow Maximals after the rest of them are already confirmed as dead. So that means no Rat Trap, no Dinobot, no Tigatron, none of those other guys, which is really sad. And I'm not sure what they'll do in the future films, because those guys are absolutely key characters. I mean, Rat Trap, that is one of my favourite characters of Beast Wars, and it was really sad not to see him. And we also think about Beast Wars Megatron. There's 0 Megatrons in this, and I hope that we do get to see those Megatrons in the future, both Beast Wars and the G1 version. So there is a plan, and Noah is fully in now. So he's like, yeah, we're doing this. And it's great to see them all working together. It gives a good message out as well. So that's one of the bits of this film where it hits you in the feels factor. It is a nice sort of, you know, as a family film. There is some profanity in it, like Noah says the S word quite a fair few times. But, you know, the themes, they're really good, and they're all about uniting together, which I really like. Okay, so now that the Terracons have grabbed the last half of the key from the Maximals, after they gave it to Noah and Elena, they can now put the key, 2 pieces of the key together, and then start the machine up to signal Unicron to come and eat this planet, which is full of energon. But then there's a plan where it kind of turns into a little bit of like Ocean's 8, or, you know, where they kind of go through the blueprints. Some kind of holographic blueprint comes up of like Unicron's structure and the mechanics of the kind of the device that signals Unicron to come. And they have a plan to try to get it. The key activates, and it pulls through a lot of like dark clouds, and then we start to see lots of like the weather changes, and then at this point the heroes kind of think it's all a bit hopeless, but there is a small chance, and then here we get to see various pods coming through, and these are like more robots that just come. I guess these pods are just sent out to try to, you know, fight any of the resistance on the planet, I guess. But surely, I'm just thinking that Scourge would probably say, hey, it's done now, and that's it. So there we go. Anyway, there's this cool scene where they all get together, and both Optimus Primal and Prime say, roll out, which is kind of strange, because I thought that Optimus Prime will say maximize, but he does later on. And then their plan is to try to take the key out of the device. And at this point, what's really cool about Elena's character is that from all the notes she's been taking about the codes that were on all of the artifacts and stuff around the transwarp key, she's able to figure out that it's actually similar to like a password that operates the transwarp thing, the space bridge, I guess, and that if she puts in that password, it will stop the space bridge, and then Unicron won't come through. So the humans end up going through this little tunnel that Mirage puts them in, while the rest of the Autobots and Maximals fend off Unicron's advance troop forces. And at this point, you know, quite a few comments say it's quite similar to Avengers Endgame, and it is quite similar. This background is pretty much all 3D rendered, all CGI rendered stuff. And there's all these like mindless drones that just come along, similar to Avengers Endgame, where Thanos had, you know, his own like those army of those weird big teethed, multiple limbed I don't know, soldier thingies, and it's quite similar to that. And we get to see that this is a fantastic battle scene. Really enjoyed this. We get to see Optimus Prime shout "Maximize," and it's the voice of Ron Perlman. It was really similar to the Beast Wars cartoon, and it's such a nice homage. And I'm sure that, you know, the Beast Wars fans will really get some awesome feels from that. And we do get to see the robot modes of Cheetor and Rhinox, as well as Optimus Primal. And I'd love to see more of them, but actually they don't appear for very long, so it's pretty much just a glimpse. They're mainly just in their animal modes. Okay, and then we see this cool battle. Battle Trap just gets absolutely slaughtered. So I think he fires his ball and chain, Rhinox catches it, Optimus cuts the chain, and Primal just uses Battle Trap's own metal ball to just smash his head into pieces. And then the battle ensues, and then they need to get to the space bridge controls. Get some awesome scenes here of Primal taking out lots of these mini Scorponok bots. Here's Rhinox and Cheetor. The robot modes aren't very clear. It's kind of like muddy. So again, like I say, hopefully we'll see more in a future film because they survive through. Then there's some drama with like Elena sort of losing the bag that she's got with the codes in, and it's like above some burning lava, and she's got to get it. And then, you know, she is able to, you know, get to the space bridge. So while this has been going on as well, Mirage decides to take on Scourge one-on-one, which, you know, is incredibly brave, considering that Scourge wiped out Optimus, well, very easily overpowered Optimus, and Mirage uses his holograms, but in the end, he gets hurt, and same for Noah as well, who, you know, is blocked, but Scourge is about to take out Noah, and Mirage just uses himself as a shield and gets blasted to pieces by Scourge in this quite emotional moment where he sacrifices himself, and he's got this device that allows Noah's brother back in New York to talk to him and tell him to keep going and stuff. And at this bit, you get to see like mechanical bits of Mirage just flying off as he gets shot multiple times by Scourge, and it was quite sad to see that. But anyway, what happens next is as the transwarp key activates, it activates a lot of energy throughout the planet, and because Peru, the area, is very energon rich, Bumblebee's dead body, which was lying on top of like this energon rich rock, comes back to life, and we get to see this really cool scene where he jumps out of stratosphere and just starts taking out all of the advanced drones of Unicron, and even takes on Nightbird and just dispatches her very quickly. We get to see this final battle between Prime and Scourge, and, you know, the voice acting is tremendous. And, you know, Optimus Prime, it kind of turns into Bayverse Prime, and, you know, at the end of Revenge of the Fallen, it's like, give me your face, and he rips off the Fallen's face. Here, he does something quite similar, and he literally just cuts off the arms of Scourge and just stabs him through the head and pushes him into this kind of hot lava thing going on behind him, and ends him that way. And that is just so brutal and so vicious. There's been quite a few hilarious comments about, you know, Optimus Prime turned into his inner Bayverse Prime and let loose. Which, yeah, you know, he kind of shows who's boss and why he is the leader of the Autobots. Mirage, at this point, although he's non-functional, he does turn into an exosuit for Noah to wear. So Mirage kind of gets rid of all the bits that are not functioning and kind of preserves the remaining bits that are left and turns himself into the suit. and Bumblebee turns into this cool Camaro, and I'm not sure this scene here was in it, where Noah is just flying off. I think this is just in the trailers. Maybe that's later, actually, when they're trying to get off. So once the key is activated, I think in the end, during the battle between Optimus Prime and Scourge shoots the control panel so they can't stop it anymore, and the only way to stop it is for Optimus to destroy the key, but that unleashes a massive force which will destroy them all, so Optimus stays behind no matter the cost. And it's at this point that Primal says, "Your sacrifice becomes our oath." And throughout the history, as the descendants of the Autobots, it's this moment in time where Optimus decides to, sacrifice himself to save the planet. That is the heroic moment that inspires future generations of the Autobots and the Maximals. But because of time travel, the Maximals are here. We know that Optimus does not die, so he gets rescued by Noah and Optimus Primal from being sucked up by Unicron as he destroys the key. So yeah, they're kind of rewriting this continuity's history, I guess. And then we get to see this final scene where they all escape, all in one piece, apart from maybe Mirage. And they just look at this kind of post-victory chill-out pose where they all get together. So we get to hear Arrival to Earth theme by Steve Jablonsky from the Bayverse films mixed in here. And then we get to see Noah returning home and his family, and everything's nice again. And at the end scene, we get to see Noah going to a new job interview. And this guy who's interviewing is not really working there. He's actually working for G.I. Joe, who, is going to introduce him. And that was the big crossover surprise. And then we get to see a mid-credit scene where Mirage does come back to life after Noah gets various parts to try to build him back together. And he is still alive, which is great to see. So that is a breakdown of the whole film, really. Really enjoyable. For me, the soundtrack, the 90s soundtrack, I felt that some of the action scenes, when Bumblebee comes out of the plane, it's LL Cool J's Mama's Gonna Knock You Out soundtrack, and then it kind of switches into On My Soul, which is a new song that features Nas, and I felt that actually an orchestral soundtrack would have been better, because having someone's rapping voice in the background does interfere a bit when Prime is saying his words, so I think having no vocal soundtrack would be better for the action, especially if the main characters are saying something. But it's overall it works very, very well. So that's pretty much it, really, for the breakdown. If you're a Transformers fan, you will enjoy this. I think if you're a G1 fan who's hard, I know you get a certain portion of the Transformers fans who are G1 only. I think there's quite a lot of G1 homages here that you will enjoy. But yeah, let me know in the comments below what you think of the film. And subscribe for more toy reviews, and maybe I'll do some more movie reviews in the future. But until then, take care.